Hi, everyone. This is a pre recorded podcast, and I have for everyone who's watching now, this is Tuesday night. We are days away from the start of the season, and I have two. Let me see if I can do that. Yep. To my left here is you will know him as DWTT. He is one of our moderators, and he is in the chat section, does a really, really great job for us in controlling. Not that we have to control our community because you're all a good bunch, and helping in the comments section. And he really, really does a good job of promoting the channel on Twitter and all other social media platforms. And so this is DWT, also known as Gary. So Gary, welcome to Arsenal Fan Circle.
All right, thank you.
Not your first time, obviously, viewing or being in the chats, but your first time doing a podcast with me.
Yeah. Thank you for that opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. I can. Everybody's welcome here. So Gary, before we get started, we're going to talk about the squad, an overview of the squad and what we need, what we have in our squad, and what we need, and we're going to go through the nuts and bolts of it. But first of all, tell me your Arsenal story.
Okay.
How you got into Arsenal?
All right. So this is going to surprise a lot of people. So I was born in England, Londoner. When I was
Where's
little,
your accent? Where's your Cockney accent?
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the story. That's part of the story. So left England when I was about 9, but my team when I was young was Arsenal. So I've liked them pretty much since I've been old enough to watch TV and understand what was going on. So they've been my team for that long. But when I left, way back, I guess this would be in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And you come over, you kind of lose touch because there's no
coverage
internet.
was not there to tell the networks were not covering the games, right?
Yeah. So it kind of disappeared. But my dad just always made sure that I had some Arsenal paraphernalia. So I always had like a shirt or backpack or something. So I always had that going along. And then, then I got into the things that I, liked in the States. I'm a big time Florida Gator fan. So that's one of the things that I've been doing a lot. But then now that things of technology has caught up to everybody, I'm able to actually watch the game. So first I was, trying to sneak a peek as much as I could on whatever platform I could to watch a game. And then eventually, a lot of the channels that started pushing their product, pushing Arsenal out there, so I was able to see them there. And so over the last, I guess it would be about 5 or 6 years, I've been able to watch them consistently. So I've seen the good, and I've seen, the bad.
The bad and the ugly, right?
Yes.
Downright ugly.
Yes.
We've seen the 8-2s and the 6-0s and all those bad times. Yeah. So you actually started following Arsenal in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, it would be in the 70s, and in the 80s there's a big gap between the 80s and probably 2010 after that period.
So let's go all the way back to the 70s then. What actual game, what season did you join? Did you feel Arsenal was your team? Was it that you lived in North London there, or you just liked Arsenal?
I just like Arsenal. I lived in Acton, and that was just my team. My dad's team was West Ham. So
yes.
So
they're coming up right in the heels after Fulham.
so back then, so that was my team. I can't remember much about why Arsenal's my team, but I definitely remember they were my team, and that's who I remember watching. If I can go back in time and remember watching TV, I was always watching the Arsenal match when it came on. So who was playing, I probably couldn't tell you because I was still young back then. But that was my team, and I still. If anybody asked me, even when I was over here in the States, who my team was, would be Arsenal. So. They've always been in the back of my mind, and now I've been able to actually take in a lot more of them now. So
and in the last, I came over in 2003. So I'm originally from Ireland. When I came over in 2003, first thing I had to do was get a box, get that cable piped in, because that was the season that Arsenal were doing, doing great things. The invincible season that has yet to be replicated in the Premier League, at least. But it's been lean years since then. But we're not here for that right now. We are here for Arsenal 2020 to 2021 and the squad. We're gonna break down the squad review and Where should we start? Nowhere else but the two great goalkeepers, Gary. Um,
Yep.
I'm gonna go into the season fighting tooth and nail to keep both Emmy Martinez and Bernd Leno between the sticks for us because, from my point of view, if we have an injury and we have one goalkeeper, we're in trouble. And this cannot be the season that we do not finish out that we finish outside the top four again. This cannot be the season for me to go another 4 or 5 years outside the top four. What's your feeling on our goalkeepers?
Initially, my first thought was one of them has to go because my initial thought is that the team just doesn't have the funds that they need to
Yes,
fix the rest of the team, and if they have a solid number one goalkeeper, then one of them has to go. But
yes,
the more I think about it, yes, if that is at least right now our Achilles heel, if one of those if we only had one and one goes down, we don't have you don't have a
yeah.
backup that we know of right now. Uh, yeah,
Injuries would be our
yeah.
nemesis in this situation. That's me. I'm optimistic, but I also know that injuries can hurt you in a season. And if Bernd Leno goes down and Emmy Martinez is not there to come in, and who would have? I really am surprised by the play of Emmy Martinez
Mhm.
on the restart, coming in that Brighton game. Our hopes in that game, it was pretty bad at that time,
Yeah.
right?
And since I've been able to watch, a lot more of the games over the last number of years, they've always had a decent backup. They've always had a
Yeah,
decent backup, no matter who it was. You know, Fabianski. They always had somebody in the who was sitting there right behind, who was raring to go. If you look out in the, out into the all the different teams out there, there's an Arsenal goalie out there still playing. They leave, another one comes in. They've been always been able to replace and always have a decent backup over the last
am-
couple of years that I've noticed. So even if they,
amazing, but amazing, Gary, to see Martinez's play and the way he's able to use the ball with his feet. He's able to play that ball out from the back, and we scored probably 5 goals in the restart that have all emanated from the back of from the goalkeeper.
yeah, I, I mean, I am a little critical of him because a couple of times he gets caught on the ball, and you just want him to get that ball out of there. But then when he does have control of it and he pushes that ball past the midfield, it's usually the other team's in trouble when he does that. So
Yeah,
I have noticed that.
I would say there are two. We're going to go through every position here, but two of our strongest positions are where the ball finishes up with Aubameyang, and where it starts with our goalkeepers. And Emi Martinez has come in and done. People say, well, it was a small sample size, but I'm quite happy to judge Emi Martinez on the 15 games or whatever it is that he's had, and to
Whenever,
say that he's at least going to be capable of being a backup, if not starting.
yeah, when that ball comes into the box, it's swallowed up. It doesn't bounce around. Doesn't go out for a corner. He takes it and pulls it out of the air, puts it down. Barely ever comes out. It goes in, never comes out. That's
Yeah,
one thing I like about it. So the defense doesn't have to worry about a ricochet or it bouncing off the back of. Sometimes
yeah,
it might hit off the back of the
exactly.
defender. So once he's got a big claw on it, it's
Exactly. And Emi Martinez, he's pretty tall. He's got a big frame on him. But a quick word would be remiss of us not to say something about Bernd Leno, who has performed admirably behind some shaky defending. And we're going to get into defending next. But
yeah, yeah.
Bernd Leno has done quite well as well.
Yeah, no, I think Leno didn't have at least the benefit of having Arteta getting
Mm.
that defense a little bit more solid. They
Yeah.
play more as a team now. They will actually sacrifice themselves to stop. We've seen that more than I think we did before. The change at the head, the manager. So he didn't get the same quality of defense that I think that Martinez did in terms of team concept being played back there on the back line and the support that he didn't probably have. So he had to make some miraculous blocks, but
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Martinez got the benefit of that, better
So,
coaching, it seemed.
all things equal, Gary, we are thinking that our goalkeeping department is in pretty good shape. For me, two good goalkeepers that are top four quality are very capable of taking us to the top four. Now we're going to get into other sectors that may not be capable of getting us in the top four, and we're going to talk about that. But let's go into defense now. You briefly touched on it there. Arteta has met. I've got some stats. You've got some notes as well. We may be cross-referencing our notes here, but Arteta's taken over the defense, and when he took over, we had conceded 27 goals in 18 games. Since then, in the 20 games since Arteta took over in the Premier League, we conceded only 21. So just about a goal a game, whereas before that it was well over a goal a game before Arteta took over. So as a general comment, we can say that Arteta has made Arsenal leak less goals in general.
No, definitely, definitely, we've seen that improvement, and don't know if that's me or if that's sorry about that audio.
No.
Okay. Yeah, no, we definitely have seen, like I said, better teamwork with the back line, playing together and playing off each other. I've enjoyed actually seeing the defense. Sometimes we're able to make some stops and keep teams at bay. The one thing we haven't been able to do that is, can we do it for 90 minutes? Sometimes it's hard to do that, and so.
Yeah. So we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and some part of it that's not good will be our central defensive pairings. We've had some issues throughout the year. David Luiz is a strange one. Let's go to David Luiz because he seems to be the quarterback pretty much of the central defenders. Redeemed himself toward the end in the restart. Did have quite a few kamikaze moments throughout the season. We're all thinking Chelsea away from home, Liverpool away from home. So it's probably the bigger teams away from home where he seems to lose his head a little bit.
Yeah. No, definitely. And those are the times when you actually need him to play a little bit more sound on his defensive responsibilities. It's okay to, maybe to,
give up a goal here.
Maybe let the ball go because you're either out of position.
Yeah.
We can't lose our most seasoned defender back there at that. In certain points of the game where we then have to go. But
And again, it was at the Etihad as well, where you're on the restart, the first game back after the restart. A schoolboy mistake. He tries to control the ball with his thigh. It scoops up perfectly for Raheem Sterling, and then in the second half, when we didn't have a chance to really get a foothold back into the game, he gives away a penalty. So these are the issues with David Luiz.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of look back to that game, and that first 30 minutes, we had the game. We were keeping the game tight, even when he came in. We were still keeping that game, right where we wanted it. A free goal here. Yeah.
I actually did a watch along, Gary, and I said actually in the watch along at 40 minutes, watch us concede a goal now because we've done quite well. This was our MO throughout the season. We did it at Anfield as well. Similar, we're going to go to Anfield in the third game again. It's funny how seasons are so much alike. Because last season was the third game of the season as well. It seems to be we go 40 minutes, but Arteta, I think, has started to change things around. So the good thing about David Luiz is he has a short memory as well. So we've talked about the bad things about David Luiz. Now let's talk about the good games that he's had in the FA Cup final. He marshaled his players quite well in the semi-final and the final.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it was a game prior to that where basically anything that was in there, he just cleared it out. That whole back line, him and Mustafi, if I remember correctly, they were both basically anything that went into the box, they were just clearing it out. The team didn't have a chance, and those are the things that they can do. So we know it's there. The consistency
is not there, right? We just have to pull it out from there. For me, that was a seminal result. That week we went and beaten Liverpool at home, and then the FA Cup semi-final, especially. I didn't really give ourselves much chance against Manchester City, but David Luiz played very, very well that game.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's the trick, right? The less things that he has to be concerned about, the better he can play and not have to think too hard about all the other things that go into that back line. So, when they were able to, I think if I recall, those kind of defenses they kind of squeeze things in a little bit more towards the middle, so there's less responsibility that you have to deal with. And we actually look, we look good doing that. So really,
Other culprits. Let's talk about Holding and Mustafi as a couple, Socrates maybe, and then we'll get into Saliba and Gabriel and Mari,
yeah.
the newer recruits. I think Saliba, Mari, and Gabriel for me, maybe like one of the first choices or second choice. Pablo Mari would probably be settled down to be second choice defender. Hopefully, we're looking, Gary, at Saliba and Gabriel solidifying this season, and that's what I think we have to look out for and expect. That they're going to make mistakes, right? But if they start developing that understanding, we have to use the first half of the season, especially for them to develop that understanding, and probably playing it as a three at the back with David Luiz in the center.
Yes, definitely. The one thing that I'm hoping for is that based on what we saw last year and this year, we know that our depth is a lot better now. So if they have to, if even if Saliba and Gabriel don't start to begin the season, if they ever go to them, we know that their athleticism and their physical play and their size and everything like that's going to, well, those are some pros that will weigh out any cons as far as inexperience in the league.
Yeah.
And so that would be nice to have, and especially if they get short amount of time to do that. That from what I've seen, Arteta will be able to give them the tools. Luiz on the field will give them the nice kind of mentor they're looking for, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. From Luiz, is that he can mentor those youngsters so that when they come out.
That's a great point, Gary. You just brought me up to that. David Luiz is there. The Brazilian language will help him with Gabriel and help Gabriel as well. And I think Gabriel will be able to communicate with Saliba as well, being in the French league. So I think there's signs there that the central offensive pairing could solidify this coming season. And I know opposing teams, Gary, are afraid of Arsenal. If we actually finally figure out the defensive puzzle and these two positions that we're talking about, if we go to a flat back four, the left and the right sided central defenders will be crucial to our success because we know what we can do. We're going to talk about further up the field and maybe skipping midfield right now. We know what we can do with our forwards. They're always likely to score us a goal, right? But if you're Aubameyang scoring a goal and you're worried that we're going to concede a goal, hopefully Saliba and Gabriel are going to do that for us and give us that confidence.
Yes. Definitely looking forward to that, and hoping looking forward to that. And the more every game, one of the things that I always like to say is that from game 1 to 38, this little improvements, and and if we see that,
and we're seeing it, right?
Every game they get a little bit better at one thing. If that's Saliba and Gabriel, we'll be fine towards the end of the season. By the new year, it'd be nice to see them part of the regular rotation, starting some games on a regular basis.
And what snippets we do see of the training methods, we do see that Mikel Arteta is a lot more able to convey his method of coaching than Unai Emery was ever able to do. I think that the language gap and the players just sort of figured out that he wasn't the coach for them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
And we know that we've seen all aspects of the team benefit from him being there. They've been, all little pieces of the game from different parts of the field have all seen, little improvements there that have helped us. I mean, and I think one of the things that I like about what I've seen also is that, we're more of a team, so
Absolutely.
it's not, so if somebody has to come back, we've seen it, they'll come back and they'll help out when they need to. So I like that. And that's, plus playing for each other, right?
I've also seen, Gary, many interviews where I think Emi Martinez said it and Kieran Tierney said it, that Mikel Arteta has told them certain situations that will happen in the game and what they can do to get themselves out of that tricky situation. And lo and behold, Kieran Tierney has said it, Emi Martinez has said it. Everything that they train on, the scenarios they train on, happens in the game itself, and they already know, they're pre-programmed by Mikel Arteta what to do in that situation, how to get out of trouble, So that's amazing coaching in my view.
Yeah, and we definitely see that from playing out from the back, right? So when that
Yeah,
defense, the
you're
defensive, the
not
defense kind of,
whether it's Emmy Martinez, and I do believe it is Emmy Martinez helping knit up that passing. I have a confidence within myself that I'm not going like this too much or like this too much. Like poor Alfredi Lundberg did in the Manchester City game.
yeah,
Uh,
I would say for at least for a number of years, I've always sat there, like you said, with my hands, my
yeah,
hands, my eyes behind my hands, because when they started playing from the back, I was like, that's just where the danger is. Can we please get it
yeah,
out of there? And of course, they kick it long, and nobody's there to receive it. And
and
now it's improved so much, right? Within the
yeah.
last 6 months, it's improved so much that when we play out from the back there, you're not as worried anymore, and you just wait, and they look comfortable back there with the ball at their
We've
feet,
seen
and the
we've
defender's
seen
coming.
we've seen Watford away from home. What
Yeah,
Socrates did there, pretty much passed it to the Watford player.
yeah,
We've seen even going back to Peter Cech almost scoring an own goal. I think it was the first game
yeah,
of the season, last season or the season before that.
yeah,
So there's been some kamikaze moments. I think we're going to have a couple of breakdowns, maybe one or two, where something won't go quite right for us and we'll get punished. But I think Mikel Arteta, and credit to him, will stick to his guns and want the players to keep playing that way. And
yeah.
just to touch on Saliba, we talked about Saliba here. I think he's going to be perfect on the right side of a four. I know you've got some notes there as well, so
Yeah.
stop me if you've got some notes that you want to dig into
Yeah,
on Saliba.
I haven't looked. I've seen some videos on Saliba, and his size is going to be really nice to have,
Yeah,
nice to see out there.
yeah.
Um, and once those
That's
guys get comfortable into the league, I think things will, it'll
that's
it's going to
that's
be nice
really
to
it,
see.
right? We've seen with Pepe as well, and we're going to talk about Pepe.
Yeah,
It's going to take time to adapt to a new league. They're young kids as well, and they're moving to a new country, new surroundings, so it's going to be difficult for them. A couple of points on Saliba. When he played for Saint Etienne last season, 69% win ratio.
yeah,
And when he was not playing in the team only won 40% of the time without him.
yeah,
So
yeah.
big numbers there.
Yeah, and I mean, from the one game that we did get to see him play, I think it was against MK Dons, where he was there, but he still decided to go to his feet, and I was like, he got the ball, cleared it out, but I was still like, no, we don't need you. You're fine.
Going to
You got
ground.
the
We don't want, we've
you,
seen enough of
yeah,
those Mustafi moments,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And he was there. It wasn't like he had to get. He didn't really have to get to the ground. He just needed to get in the way,
Yeah.
between goal side, and he's fine. So, and I think he's
Um,
got the legs to do it. I think he can recover, which is really nice. So if he does, that's one thing about having, the younger defensive players there, is that if they do make a mistake, they sometimes can correct it just by, the speed that they have and the size that they have. So that'd
yeah.
be nice to see.
I think at the end of it, when we get through everything, we're going to talk about maybe who's going, how we're going to get some money in the house so we can fund our transfers. But this is
Yeah,
just an overview. Let's pick
yeah,
up really quickly on Rob Holding. It seems like Rob Holding, Socrates, and Mustafi. It seems like Socrates is going to Napoli now maybe for a free. We were going to get 4 million, but now they've negotiated us to a free, and that's just the problems we've had over the years in trying to maintain players on a lot of money. It's going to be difficult to move them on. Mustafi's injured. We would likely keep him, and we need probably cover on the right side for Saliba. And if Holding was going to go, that's probably he's coming back now. So what's your view on those three, Gary?
yeah. So if you look at my notes there, I've got a couple. I've got them grouped in a certain way where either they're injured, they're what I consider part of the rotation, or
Yes,
basically they're on the fence and we're ready to say see ya.
move them on,
And
loan
so
them out.
like Holding and Kolasinac and Socrates are on that list of okay. It's okay if they go. Uh, and so
you wouldn't,
so
you wouldn't, you wouldn't feel bad to see them go, right?
no. I mean, I think they're gonna have to. A lot of players are gonna have to go, and I think a lot of those
Yeah,
players will have to be from that back line because we're fully stocked
Just
there,
have,
and we
we have
have
a lot of players. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we need to be able to give those youngsters time. And Mustafi's not being around is going to be one. That's some extra time they're going to get that they probably wouldn't have gotten before. Um, Socrates, his time has been shortened as well, right? Over even towards the end of the season, he didn't get to play as much, so the team's not going to miss him as much. Same thing.
Arteta, I don't think Arteta is a big fan of Socrates. He did bring him on for the cup final as just a bow to sort of his professionalism. A player who's never really didn't complain, didn't go to the press and complain about his situation. But hey, anything else on central defenders before we get into the left and right back?
And like you said, I think one of the things that the team, I guess, has either realized or basically has to do is that, they might have to just let some of these players go, and not have to worry about whether there's a fee coming in or anything, just because they've set the way things have been structured. It's out of their hands. They really do have to let some of these players go for less than they expected.
Who would really blame these players? They're getting a reasonably decent wage. The motivation may not be there for some of them to move on, and that's just it. Let's go into the left back situation. I have Ainsley Maitland-Niles both in left back and right back situation. So we'll talk about Ainsley Maitland-Niles. First of all, we'll talk about Tierney. No problem with Tierney at all. Besides Aubameyang, he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet for me. Tierney is the kind of player we could do with 11 of those characters in our team, right?
Yep. The first time I saw him play, I don't even think he lasted that long because I think he came in and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
And just from the bits that I did see, I was so sad to see him have to go down and then be out for a while because I was like, that is what we've been missing. That was basically the Koscielny.
We got a little taste of what we're missing, right, Gary?
That was what we needed. Somebody back there that looked the part, looked more the part, and could handle anything that came their way. Yeah. And so that was a little sad to see. And then when he finally did come back and was able to play consistently, which I wanted him to keep playing, but of course Arteta knows what he's doing, and kind of weaned him in. And we saw a good player back there. And one of the things that I always say is that if we're looking for a captain, because at some point we had 5, he would be a good candidate for that. Just because of the, and then you hear the stories about, see him walk into the stadium with his Tesco bag. Any comments about, practice? Like that?
And he nearly got cut. He nearly got cut from Celtic as well. He got a 1-year contract from Celtic. He was almost going to go back to roofing because his father's a roofer. So he knows what it's like, Gary, to fight tooth and nail to be a professional footballer. It's not been handed to him.
Yeah,
he's had to work for it.
And that was one of the things that when I watched the games, I always wondered, are they practicing this? What I see, because it doesn't look like they're practicing. I don't know what I'm seeing because this can't be the way they practice. And then they hear Tierney go, I practice the way I play. That's everybody. That's an easy one.
I wonder who the player was who told him to calm down a little bit.
Yes.
Maybe Bellerin, right?
Somebody, whoever it was, they shouldn't be around because that. I mean, what?
Would have been Kolasinac.
Yeah, if you don't do it in practice, then how in the world are you going to do it in the game? It's a simple thing, right?
Tierney said, "I practice how I play, and that's how we do it." He come from a winning culture and from Scotland, so the player should be looking to him, not the other way around. That's no problems at all with Kieran Tierney. Excellent player. Like I said, we could do with 11 of those, and nobody's telling me there's a better left back in the league anywhere. So that's it. Full stop for me. Robertson, Liverpool supporters can stick it. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. Tierney's better. Let's go in the left back position. Let's go to his backup, Kolasinac. He's a player we need to move on as well, right? Too much wages, came on a free, but now we could sell him for a fee.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we can. If we can, I would like to see that happen.
He's just not up to it.
It's crazy to think that was what we had, right? And then you have Tierney sitting there.
That was our weapon, Gary. That was our Unai Emery's secret weapon on the left-hand side. Just flashing any kinds of stupid low balls into the box. That was our tactic under Unai Emery. And you know what? I liked Unai Emery up until probably the Sheffield United game away from home
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Kolasinac. We can do without him. He can move on as far as we're concerned. I think we're unanimous there. Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Now, this is funny how football goes. I said this on the podcast in the last few weeks. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I would have been happy enough if we're raising some money to sell him 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. I wasn't happy he was going to go to Wolves, and I wasn't happy it was going to be 15 million. But boy, do things change. He gets a start at Community Shield and is man in the match for me. Plays really, really well. Yes, he's a little limited in the forward positions, but he's very, very coachable. I see him as a man-to-man marker, and he just got his first cap tonight for England as well.
Yeah, saw that. Congratulations to him on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still don't understand how he was even allowed to be put on the list of maybe we'll let him go.
Maybe we'll let him go. Yeah,
because the team with the number of injuries you have, with the ability that he can play pretty much any position on that back line if you really want him to.
Yeah.
If
even in midfield.
If the con is that his final third ball just isn't right, I can live with that because I know that his back line, when he plays at the back line, that he goes all out, and he's shown from early part of the season till now that he's fine back there, and he'll come in, he can make a stop if he needs to, and he'll be able to play a whole game depending on what you need.
Yeah.
Too versatile for a player for us.
Too versatile for the kind of project we're in the middle of right now. Mikel Arteta can rely on Tierney and other players in the squad, but he needs to rely on Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and he needs to be able to put him in any position, really. That brings us perfectly over to the right back position. We were talking about Bellerin and Suarez. So, we got the triumvirate there. Ainsley Maitland-Niles can fit in the right back situation, more suited to a right wing back. But I'm not against, if we're going to raise some cash, Hector Bellerin going to PSG. So that club will pay, and they usually get their player as well.
Yeah, and the one thing that the team needs, and they've been, at least it seems like we need is more funds, right? We need more monies coming in to help with the transfer.
We can't bring anyone in apparently until we raise some cash.
Yeah, and that's why one of the, I was fine with one of the goalies going, because if the goal was we need to bring more funds in to fix, areas of
the season midfield, yeah.
Then let's do that. Let's do that. Do you like it's? But then when you think about it, it's like you said, we're pretty good in the back with the two goalies that we have.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Abra up top, that's scoring goals as long as we can get the ball to him. Everything in the middle needs to be fixed up.
Everything in the middle is negotiable. Give us a price in these COVID times,
So your youngsters, you should keep your youngsters, because you're not none of them don't have this much experience to where I think you can get most of the money you want, or they haven't been able to play enough for whatever reason. So I think Bellerin, who's had experience and is coming back, and he has glimpses of, this could be the player for you if you want to pick him up.
Yeah, where do you stand? Where do you stand on that, Gary? Do you think we've seen his best days, or do you think he can come back to be the old Bellerin of old?
I think he could get back, but I also feel like it's okay to let him go. I think it's okay to let him go because
there's been too many occasions, Gary. We go down through the years, hard luck stories of players we could have let go. We could have cashed in for some money. We let them go on freeze. We swapped them, and their transfer value just diminished in the intervening years.
Yeah, I think
we want to buck that trend.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice. I think he's okay to go. And I think we'll be able to cover for him his spot where if he does leave, because Ainsley can do that if he needs to.
Yeah.
I think he can cover for him.
Ainsley can definitely do that if he needs to. Cedric Suarez might be a little bit more comfortable in the back four setting. That could be the trigger for Arteta if we're going to go three at the back. It would be
one thing on Bellerin that I've noticed, and maybe it's still because he hasn't fully recovered. he just doesn't have that ability to get to backtrack. That's one of my notes that I have here, and that's one of the things on the
Yeah.
defense that I notice is that if they make a mistake or if the midfield makes a mistake, and you need those guys to just hoof it all the way back to the goal, to the box to clear it to help clear out things. A lot of times,
That's
I don't. They're not even on the screen. If the camera
that's
pulled back, I think they were just walking, and you can see the ball going down. I mean, I think it is Bellerin. It was, I don't know if it
that's
was him or not, but we lost the ball on that one side, on the right side. I think he was playing. Yeah. All of a sudden, you see the opponents going down the field. He's nowhere to be found. They're in the box. He's still nowhere to be found. And it's like, I don't know if that's because he's still not all the way back. But those
yeah.
kinds of things. That's the thing. That's where those youngsters come in. And they're going to get back there, at least to put some pressure on the ball. And I think he hasn't. I think as a defender, you need to be able to. If you're going to make those sprints, they got to be on those counters that are happening where you need to get back into the box. And I think we've seen this for years though, where they just never make it back. And you're like,
That
what?
is an astute observation. I never really noticed that, and you picked
Yeah,
up on that. So good
yeah.
stuff.
I've seen it. It's not just this year. It's years for like the last number of years.
Yeah,
I watched the ball. Like we never teams usually got help right either in the middle of the field. And we've always been a problem there. We turn the ball over in the
yeah.
middle, and the defense is out of position. Boom. Pace,
That
the
is
pace beats them out. Pace always beats them out because they're either not positioned in a way that the offensive player, they can stop them, slow them, get in their way, slow them down, redirect them, and usually they're gone. And it's like,
that's something I've always wondered about, Gary. We talked about the culture at Arsenal, how it's been so much a social club. The competition's not been there. I've always wondered if Bellerin is a prime candidate for being one of those players that was willing to just coast a little bit, just a little bit. You know what I mean?
yeah, going forward, he's fine. It's just the
Mhm.
track back. I think that if you're going to play that back line, you need to be able to track back, at least put yourself in a position where you're not out of position when something goes wrong, because it can and it will go wrong, and you're going to have to get back there to help out.
So, not in love with the agent-led acquisitions in the new year, but I do think Pablo Mari. You probably heard me on past podcasts saying I do think there's a player in Pablo Mari. That being said, Cedric Suarez I think is a strange kind of signing. Couldn't really get into the Southampton team, but he's definitely there as backup to possibly Ainsley Maitland-Niles in the future.
Yeah, those two players are they
They'll have
how
that
they
mark over their head, right?
yeah, how did they get into the team, and how did they get I guess I understand why they got the contracts. I don't know why they had to pay them. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was necessary based on where we are today. If you know that you don't have the funds, players that have only put in a small number of games for you, and you can use those funds for another reason, why not do that?
Mhm.
When we didn't do that, Mari did show in that Man City game that yes, this is a player that I think would look good if he could stay healthy, and it
Yeah,
didn't last, and
that's
that
the
was
thing. It didn't
disappointing
last.
there. It was
I, I
really
think I think Arsenal as a club and Arteta and the coaches maybe struggled with the amount of games they were coming really quickly. It was the first game as well. Maybe they weren't physically ready
yeah.
to come back.
It
Let's,
probably was probably the worst. It probably was the worst game for him to
it
come
was
back.
not
If
a great one.
he's been
Yeah.
injured for a while, he comes back. You know what? We didn't give you, Man City. It's probably probably not the
Not the
best
game
game
you
to give him.
want, right?
I mean, he played well, but I don't,
Yeah.
the fact that he went down, it didn't seem like there was much to it. Probably meant that he one wasn't ready, and two probably wasn't the right game for him to come back in, because it would have been nice to see him continue how he started that game for the rest of the season, and who knows
So
where we would have been.
I think we've covered all of the defenders now, and we're
Yeah.
going to jump
Well, I
into
think
the.
I don't know if you did one more. I think, right? Did we say anything about Mustafi?
Yeah, briefly we touched on
Briefly,
Mustafi. Got
okay.
anything? Got anything on him?
No, I think like it's hot and cold, right? When it's hot, it's really good. When it's cold, but when it's cold, it's not that it was cold the whole day. It's like all of a sudden, it's like you're taking a bath, and all of a sudden the water goes from pretty warm to next thing you know, it's
Has
freezing.
those rash moments.
So
He has those
yeah,
rash moments. Yeah, he
so
goes. He goes. We call him Colonel Mustard on the podcast, so for good reason. All right, the midfield minefield. Where do we want to start? We want to start maybe with the most explosive character. Maybe not the most dynamic, but Granit Xhaka splits. He splits the fan base right down the middle. Maybe there's more against him than for him, but he does he does have a dividing uh, influence on the fans.
yeah, I think in fairness to him, he's been put in the positions that he probably, at least to me, didn't seem like he should have been in those positions where we needed a captain, and I don't know if he had the captain material in him at the
Yeah,
point. At that point,
yeah.
they were asking a little bit too much of him. His play was a little bit too inconsistent for a captain, where you're expecting him to be able to show the be able to mentor younger team and to keep the older team going when things were looking tough. And
Mhm.
I think he was asked to do a little bit too much, and it got it. I think it got to him. I mean, when
He go ahead.
yeah, no, I was going to say one of those examples of that is when Guendouzi and him would play together, and it was those little silly plays where he's running down the defender, and sorry, running down the offensive player, and the offensive player is just going to stop at some point, and he's right on top of him and going through him, and it's like that happened too many times, and then eventually I saw the same thing again, Doozy, and I'm like, they're learning some of the bad traits that you have.
Mhm.
And when he stopped doing that, he looked much better, right? He wasn't putting his team in, with either free kicks or yellow cards. Um, and so, that's a testament to what the changes that have been made. And so he looks much better, and he does give it all, right? He gives it all. It's just a matter of molding it and controlling it into the to benefit the
He
team.
gives
Yeah.
what he has, but maybe what he has is not in next coming seasons may not be what we need. Um,
Mhm.
a very strange player that has survived many managers and coaches over the years.
I think
Um,
it's a testament to the type of player he is. He probably practices hard, plays
mm,
hard, and it's just a matter of I think also it's a matter of getting him put in those positions to succeed. Is
yeah,
he going to be one of the best midfielders? Probably not,
no,
but what he can do, what his some of his strengths and what he can do, as long as you can focus on those things, he'll look okay out there and good enough to get you what you need.
yeah, he does have a decent range of passing, but he's never going to break a neck to get beyond the ball
Yeah,
too much. He's not
yeah,
going to be that midfielder for you.
yeah.
Does have a great shot. We haven't seen so many shots from him in previous
Yeah.
seasons.
I no, and I'm okay for that because a lot of, I mean,
Takes
the
away from
the
potency in the
long,
forward.
yeah, they'll usually from like 25 yards out, so
Yeah,
the chances that they're going to go in are
low
slim.
percentage. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I do the one thing I am going to say is that I still cringe when I see Aubameyang grab his captain's band and hand it off to
to Shaka.
okay, so I'm always like,
Yeah,
I I think that maybe he can earn it back, but I don't think he can earn it back that quickly. I don't think that something like that you
fans
can
still
make it.
remember.
I think that well, I think even if the fans weren't the reason for it, but if you act that way, and I think it should take a little bit of time for you to earn it back.
Mhm.
You don't usually give your captain's ban that. I mean, if that was the case, then I would expect Tierney to have just gotten the ban right away because he plays the way that we want the way we want our players to play, right? So if it was a case of like we can just you can get it back that quickly, then why isn't Tierney not a captain? Because he's shown from the little bit of time that we've
Yeah.
seen that he's worthy of it as well. So I was a
Future
little
captain, I
yeah. So
believe. Future
I was a
captain.
little yeah. So that definitely didn't sit well with me that he's able to get the ban
Yeah.
back that
And
quickly.
when we go through the rest of the team, we're going to leave Guendouzi out of the equation. We'll talk about him at the end.
Sure. Yeah.
Seriously, and Arteta as well. We'll have a little word for Arteta, who, if I can say right now, he has put very little feet wrong for me. He hasn't really put a foot wrong for me.
Yeah.
Arteta now, big season ahead, and things are going to happen. We'll see what happens. Midfield partners for Granit Xhaka, Danny Ceballos. He's become quite key to the way we play, and I think he has signed up hook, line, and sinker for Mikel Arteta. I love the relationship that they have together. Obviously, a countryman, speak the same language. And Arteta's finally getting the tune out of him when we wondered for the whole season what Danny Ceballos would be.
Yeah, and I guess one thing, at least maybe because I'm not looking at the midfield as much because it always seemed like that's just not where when we were talking
Where
about
it's
the
at.
midfield
Yeah.
where it's at. So usually when there's not much conversation about what's happening in the middle, it's usually a good thing most of the time because
Like a good referee gets on notice, right?
yeah, they're doing their job and things are just working the way they should. You don't hear their names as much, but those are some of the best games that you're going to hear talked about with the midfield, how the midfield pairing, right? They're not at the point where they are right there in the middle getting the goal scored, but when they play good, nothing. The middle's a little bit more cleaner.
A goal in the FA Cup for me really kickstarted Danny Ceballos' restart season.
I just remember sitting there watching, and it's like, because Aubameyang, I think he missed the ball. He didn't get a clean hit on that ball. And I was like, oh my god! I was I was like, how did he miss that? And then the next thing you know, the ball just went in the right position, and Ceballos is there to put it away, and you're like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, and that really seemed to have kicked him on.
Yeah.
He went on further. I remember the great pass in the Leicester goal. Play the ball inside right down to Saka, another player we're going to talk about a little bit further down the line. But Danny Ceballos. Who else you want to go to now? Will we go to El Neni?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
El Neni, a serviceable midfielder. For me, he's a squad player. A lot of people are against Mohamed El Neni. I think he has, progressed since his loan move, and I think Arteta can squeeze a few more percentage points out of him.
Yep. I mean, we've seen at least what we've seen from him. It is he's a decent, player.
And we're likely to start the season. Our midfield is in such a situation that he should be a depth player, but we're probably going to start the season with El Neni on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with.
Those first 2 games is good. If we don't, what are our alternatives, right? So
when we get to Anfield and Liverpool, we would want to have a more decent situation going on in midfield.
Yeah.
Let's go with Torreira.
Yeah.
Lucas Torreira.
That's good. It's a good segue, right? Because that might have been Torreira's spot, and he hasn't been able to get in there. So with El Neni, you're going to get in there. He may not have all the talent that Torreira has, but he's able to get on the field and do exactly what Arteta wants him to do. And maybe not the best, but I think he gives him what he wants. And I think that's the one thing is either you're just so good that you get on the field, or you can handle that coaching. And I think he is able to do that and give the coach, exactly what the coach wants. And the coach has given him, instructions that he can actually meet. So,
yeah.
Torreira. No. So on Torreira, same thing. He's not being able to get the consistent play that we need, and then it's now the injuries.
Bit of a sad story, Gary. Torreira, we saw great things from him in how bad we were in midfield. He seemed to be the answer 18 months ago.
Yes.
Or a year ago, and it just hasn't worked out for him. Players probably homesick, and not homesick in terms of the type of football. He probably wants to go back to Italy, and he may go to Torino or Fiorentina, I believe.
Yeah, I think. Hopefully that happens sooner, and we can move on because it just didn't work out. And it seemed like it was going to start well, and just hasn't happened.
Hasn't worked out, unfortunately, and he may not be an Arteta type player, and that's just what happens. A new coach comes in, you're going to get some oddball situations where players don't work out. I've got Joe Willock next.
Okay. Yep. I mean, he needs more game time. I think. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it, but I think he needs more game time. If we can get it with Arsenal, then he needs to, either go on loan. I think go on loan would be good because at this point, I don't think some of the youngsters aren't getting the time they need on the ball. And
he's getting bits and pieces at the end of the game. He's getting 15, 20 minutes here and probably on the right side of midfield as well,
And the one thing I can say about the youngsters is that they are, when they you can see the potential. You
Yeah.
know, the potential it's a really big word, but you can see it. You just
Some
don't see
more
the
than others.
consistency, and the reason why you don't see it is because they don't get to play as much.
I still believe in Joe Willock. He's the only kind of player in our midfield who can pop up in the box
Yeah.
and get on the end of things and score a few goals.
Yeah.
So, and I also think, Gary, I think he's a player that really needs the coach to believe in him and the coach to tell him that he believes in him. I think he lacks confidence. This is just my perception. He's in the dressing room looking around. When you're in that dressing room and you're Joe Willock and you're looking at Aubameyang, Tierney, all these players who have done that, been there, done that, you may feel he's not worthy of being there.
And then that right there, you named two. You know, I think that right there is probably one of the things that the team is lacking. There is that captain, right? That person that's going to put their arms around those youngsters or any player that needs it. You know, just to make sure that you're not. They don't have you here. They didn't move you up for no reason.
You're here for a reason, right?
So, whatever you're thinking, feeling, you know, you're here for a good reason, and you just gotta go out there and be comfortable with it. And you got to figure out what that is. So I think that's the part that I also think is lacking with with the captaincy that we have is we just don't have that guy that's going to go and put their arms around people and light a fire under them, get them going, and give them the confidence.
Yeah, I think he's that player. Aubameyang, I think he is that player that will put his arm around them, but he's not going to light a fire under them. You know, he's probably going to feel that's the coach's job. And I think Arteta is capable of doing that, but Arteta can't cater to the whole team. He's not going to see everything. Aubameyang might see it. David Luiz, I think I've come to realize that whereas we look at our captains on the field, Aubameyang is a different kind of captain off the field, and we don't see it. We haven't seen it until highlights of the FA Cup final and things like that.
Yeah, I think we're going to get into that as well. Is that on the field and on the practice field, we've got players that are going to show the youngsters is kind of where we are now, how to do it. And that's where Luiz is, right? Luiz is going to help that back line. And I guess when we get, a little bit forward, as we move forward, Willian is also that guy that can show kind of some of the midfield and some of the forwards that are going to play. Look, this is, and give them.
This is how you act as a professional, right?
So I think that's if that's one of the things they were brought in for, then I think that would be really good to have because that's what we need. We need a little bit more of that leadership on the field, a little bit of that mentorship on the sidelines.
Should we expand on Willian or go to Emile Smith-Rowe next?
Yeah, Emile Rose sounds good because that's good.
Emile Smith-Rowe. I've got great hopes for this kid. I think Arteta is keeping him thereabouts the squad because he sees a creative part of him and maybe Willian that we're not going to have in the team. We're probably not going to go out in the transfer market. It's unlikely unless we get Awa, which is maybe our second preference in terms of transfers.
Yeah.
But Emile Smith-Rowe could be the kind of player who could, I'm not going to say have a breakout season, but he could get 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe start some of the minor games in Europe, and Arteta's going to see what he can do.
Yeah, and you can see the difference between Willock and Emile Smith-Rowe. The difference is one got the playing time that he probably needed to at least see.
Yeah,
and get figure out what he's good at and what he needs to work on a little bit more because he's consistently playing, and we saw that in some of those games towards the end of the season, Champions League. That and he had some really good games there, and I think the experience is key. If you're not going to be able to put them out on the field, then it's probably good to give them a little.
You're bringing me to great points again, Gary. Let's stack those two up again. Willock against Emile Smith-Rowe and how they were handled in the last year. In some ways, you would think Willock is being preferred because he stayed in around the first team, but he hasn't got the minutes that Emile Smith-Rowe has. Whereas Emile Smith-Rowe was shipped out, and he's gotten the minutes. So it's hard to know in their development. You're stacking Willock against Emile Smith-Rowe. Who has developed better in the last year?
Yeah, and I think it also probably the maturity, they get to mature a little bit more because now they're on their own. They know exactly why they're going, and they may have to speak up for themselves a little bit more mature. Whereas if they're, they've been in Arsenal all along, they kind of feel like they're going to get prodded along, and you see that also with Eddie, right? Eddie, and he went away, and he's come back, and once again they've got, I think, that little bit of experience.
I think that's a great thing. I'm looking at the team sheet here and all the players we have. Saliba, he played with Saint Etienne and comfortable in the knowledge he was going to come to Arsenal. He had a year to get himself prepared. Now he's going to hit a wall maybe when he comes to the Premier League. And we all have to understand that. There'll be times when other channels will be ranting and raving. We're going to give Saliba a pass for this season, I think. You're looking at Emile Smith Rowe, a similar situation. They did a year out, comfortable knowing maybe they're coming back. Like you said, Eddie and Ketty and Joe Willock. So these are players that are comfortable knowing they have a role in the future of Arsenal. Let's get to Willian now. We briefly mentioned Willian. Eyebrows raised. It's a free transfer, but it's not really because of that huge sign-on bonus. For me, I'm going to leave the club to spend the money, and I have to look at the player on the field and see what he's going to give us and not worry about his price tag as much. Now, I'm going to mention it from time to time, but we want to see what he's going to do, right? Right, Gary?
Definitely. I mean, what we did see from him, if that's what we can get, if we can get that, he doesn't have to play every game, of course. So hopefully that's the case, that where we're not, putting him out there too often, that he kind of wears down and not able to showcase what he can do because he is getting older. But if he can showcase that, I think what we saw from him, that's what we needed. We're missing that. It'd be good to see him come and give exactly that kind of experience. And if he's able to mentor the younger, like Emile Smith Rowe, then perfect. Because that's kind of
I really see Willian as a bridge signing. He's been signed as a bridge to help Saka, give Saka some room, give Emile Smith some room to grow, and he's going to help Willian being Brazilian. There's a really big Brazilian clique growing within Arsenal now, and he's going to help Martinelli as well. So I think he's a positive signing, at least for 18 months.
And depending where you play, you have that kind of Brazilian middle, right? Where you've got your two youngsters in the middle, and then you've got William sitting there a little, maybe a line away from them, but you've got that going on.
I heard some news today. It is a Tuesday before the start of the season. We're recording here, and I heard that William was being training on the right-hand side today.
Okay.
So that's kind of a strange situation. You wouldn't think that he's competing against Pepe and Nelson, but Arteta is doing that. And, right now, like I said, Arteta has not put a foot wrong. So, Mesut Ozil, Gary, Mesut Ozil. You want me to go first?
I guess I'm like, either you're coming or you're going, buddy. Come on, tell me whatever you want. Just do it. If you're coming, you're coming 100%. If you're going, then you're going 100%.
Yeah.
Even if he couldn't physically play, I would have liked him to be a part of the team, and it didn't seem to be the way he wanted to do it. So, because I think his knowledge, if he's sitting there and he's just chatting with you see him in the practice when he's out there practicing. He's enjoying himself.
Yeah.
Everybody enjoys his company, so he's not a bad teammate or anything like that, from what I can tell.
It's
just
popular.
So I think he has he has the knowledge. He has his experience.
I mean, there's two facets to this, Gary. We're going to find out this season. Was Raul part of the block? Was he part of the low block on Mesut Ozil that didn't allow him into the team, or was it Arteta's decision? And we're going to find that out pretty quickly. I mean, Arteta said everyone gets a clean slate, so we're going to see what happens this season.
Yeah, I hope it's that Arteta just wasn't allowed to play him, because if he's not worthy of being able to play, then at least he should be able to deliver something else, provide something else to the team.
Yeah.
I think he got soured by whatever was going on, and hopefully Arteta is able to get him. Now that hopefully things are a little bit better, maybe he's able to.
There's bound to be lots of games going into the Europa League and the Carabao Cup and things like that. So let's
So
go to the. Go ahead.
no, I'm saying it'd be nice to see, if he's healthy enough to play. It's nice to see some of those crosses and some of those plays. I mean, you look at the highlights of his plays, and they don't happen a lot, but when they do, you're like, yes. I mean, it's
It's
almost
there, right? He's just got to put it all together.
it's almost like seeing, for example, those Pepe crosses. You're like, that used to be Ozil, right? Making those crosses sometimes.
Yeah.
The ball is
Yeah.
going to make it to one of his players.
Yeah.
I don't know, so I want, if he can play, I want him to play. And it always comes down to the dollars and cents. Everything he's making every week.
Yeah,
That
for me, I've seen it the last few years. I've just seen it. It hasn't been there. I'm gonna have to be convinced by Mesut Ozil himself. Put it out there on the field, Mesut, if you're watching this. I know you're not. On the right, let's go to the right wing. I've got three players here: Saka, Pepe, and Nelson on the right wing. Let's talk about Nelson, Reece Nelson.
yeah.
He's a strange one. He's one that probably, for me, he just hasn't done enough yet to get into the first team.
Yep. Yeah. Once again, another one of those youngsters that probably needs more playing time. If he's not going to get it with Arsenal, then they should, make sure he gets that.
Yeah,
I mean, what is it? I forget which game it was. It was at the
Liverpool.
game, right? Once again, we see it. We see little bits of it.
Yeah.
We see it. Is it there every game? No, but it's there. So
It's there. Yeah.
he needs more game time.
He and Lacazette, whether it was orchestrated or a tactic, pounced on Liverpool's mistakes playing out from the back with Alisson and Van Dijk. That tells me there's a player there, but he's got to put it together, much like Willock.
Yep. They just need more time, and it's this year to get it. Maybe we get it. Maybe with a better, with a more solid defense, they can get more playing time, so they don't have to be concerned too much about that. And
Yeah.
it'll, the stronger the defense, the more opportunities maybe that gives for the team up the front, and then the rotation maybe has to build, because now those guys need to be fresh each time, and maybe he gets more playing time. But
Yeah.
he just needs more time. He needs more time.
Nicholas Pepe, 72 million. The price tag is not his fault. I felt while he was criticized through the majority of the season, he actually put up some decent numbers. He scored upwards of about 10 goals, a similar amount of assists, and that's not a bad output, I think, for a young kid coming with a hefty price tag. Like I said, to a new country, trying to learn the culture, and I think he did quite well, Gary.
He did really well. I mean, I don't feel like he felt too much pressure. By the one thing that I always noticed about him is that I would like him to look at that goal a little bit more. Lift your head up. He dribbled a lot, and a lot of times he lost that ball, and because he's just dribbling around. There was that one play, I think, with Lacazette standing there in front of the goal waiting for the ball, and he just was dribbling it back and forth, making everybody miss. And he never pushed that ball towards the goal. And
Palace, I think, away from home.
And so that's where I was hoping like I would see some improvement from that, where he doesn't have to. He can dribble past a lot of people, and then consistently on that right side, he makes the same move, and the defense has no answer for it. Right, goes down. He puts a foot towards the baseline. Baseline. Puts a foot down the line. The defender hesitates. He crosses back, puts it onto his left foot, crosses it in.
Yeah.
And
I tell you, Gary, if I'm looking at our midfield here on paper, and if we get a couple of players that are dynamic in midfield that can give him a really quick ball, Pepe, he could push into that inside right channel and make defenders have to make decisions.
Yep.
He could be deadly.
Yes. Yeah. And you look at he had 17 goals and assists, or 16 or something like that as a number.
Yeah.
That could have easily been 20 this year. And like you said, if we're expecting more improvement from him, that's easily over 20 goals and assists for the season across all competitions. So
Yeah, I think people look at his price tag too much and make that estimation or analysis that he hasn't done enough. They're expecting 72 million to be a Messi and a Ronaldo combined. It's just
Yeah. That's a
um,
little that's a little bit they're asking a little bit too much there with that.
and the FA Cup final was his breakout game. I thought he had one of the best games for Arsenal in the FA Cup final.
Yes. I mean, I have, like I said, I do love his game. I want to see more, and when I see it, I'm like, I want to see it again. Right?
Yeah,
He comes
yeah.
a Saka that makes that cross to him, and he like puts it off his left foot, and the goalie has no choice but just to watch it as it goes to the back of the net. Yes, I want more of that. I just want more of
And
it.
Arteta has been demanding of him, so hopefully, Pepe has hooked it all up, and we're going to see the best of him next season. Move on to Bukayo Saka. The surprise, I mean, if people were looking into the underage players, they would not have been surprised, but I don't focus so much on the underage. People were talking about this Bukayo Saka. He burst onto the scene this year. Amazing.
Yeah, just gonna see come out of nowhere. Also seemed to do whatever was necessary, and he showed that right. It didn't matter where they put him
Yes.
from the midfield,
Um,
back line. It did.
at one point, I was even advocating for him to be our left back because he's so dynamic down the left.
Yeah, I actually think the further away from the goal he was, sometimes the less
Better.
the better he was sometimes because when he was up front, I guess he had less of the ball, so he couldn't see as much on the field. But you push him a little further back, he looked like he opened up his game for him, and he's able to do a little bit more. So wherever they put him, he's what he's an athlete, right? You put him wherever you want, you're not gonna see too many deficiencies in his game, no matter where he went on the field.
Exactly. I wanted him to play left back because he was just he could defend, he could get up and down that left wing. He combined with Martinelli, he combined with Aubameyang down the left, and then as the season went on, Arteta started to transition him through midfield and then playing on the right hand side. I wondered if he would be as effective on the right hand side. Had a great game against Leicester, set up Aubameyang's goal, and the way Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Saka intertwined in that magical 20 minutes in the first half
Yep.
was amazing.
Same thing with Pepe, Saka. Same thing. I'm expecting more out of them now. They've had a
So
season.
many hopeful signs in these players. You can't be but excited about it. Also, third highest in the assists charts this season for a young player.
Yep.
So
Once again, yeah. So if we see an improvement from those two players, the defense deficiencies that we've had probably won't matter as much because we're going to be scoring a little bit more. Maybe we have a little bit more leeway, and not that I think the defense is getting stronger as well, but I feel like we also need to be able to score goals too. And
I'm feeling a lot better about this season because we've already solved the defensive part of it. We know we're going to concede just from the two of us talking about it. Arsenal are going to concede 15 goals this season, tops. That's it. We know what Aubameyang's going to do, and we know what these kids are going to do. So problem solved. We're going to get top four, no problem, everybody.
15 ambitious, but I mean, even 15 for the second half of the season would be would be an improvement from what we saw this season. So
we conceded something like 46 goals in total. If we get it down into the 30s, that's a big improvement. I think that can happen.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Aubameyang. I mean, what else can we say about Aubameyang?
Yeah.
He's gone up levels since Arteta, I believe. A lot of his plays reminded me of the great Thierry Henry. Difficult to compare the two players, of course, but he's definitely there.
He gets the ball in the back of the net, in the back of the net, and
with the old onion bag.
He's always there. And I heard a lot of people concerned that he doesn't. He's always walking the ball in or tapping it in. Nobody's been able to stop it. So what's the problem? Why does he need to step further away from the goal if he can just be right there when it's needed?
Some spectacular goals. The FA Cup final goal, amazing. Steel nerves for the penalty. Go back to the semi-final. 2 great goals against City. He's done it all. He stepped it up, and if
It,
you want a player to put the team on his back, he did that for the FA Cup.
I don't want to. There's nothing to critique, but I feel like I did see him, miss some sitters like most strikers do. Turns out
Tough,
he's still
tough
one of
one.
the
Uh,
best percentage for completing,
yeah,
scoring chances. And I still feel like he didn't get. There was some goals that he probably would look back and go, "Oh, I should have made that. I should have
mhm,
made that."
yeah,
And so, and I think the one thing I think I saw on a couple of podcasts is that his scoring may actually go down, which may be okay.
yeah.
His
His
scoring,
you mentioned here we're crossing over in our notes, which is a good thing for the viewers here. Conversion rate of 26%. Next best is Aguero at 20%.
yeah,
So
and
super.
I feel like he could do better. So and also if you recall, there are games where that ball never made it out there. He was out there by himself. The ball, like especially when he's playing forward, definitely. But even there were a lot of games where we just didn't get enough service up to our front line. And to think, if we're a little bit more solid at the back and then push that ball forward, he'll have even more opportunities, and he should easily be able to get the scoring title based on any improvements that we're making. Or it may go down just because there's two and three other players there that are also going to be able to get that
Yeah.
double digits goal.
Jamie Vardy seems to just go on and on, but I think he's going to have to slow down at some point, and I think Aubameyang is going to get better at least this season, if not for the next two seasons. Um,
Yeah.
his the other player who's out injured right now, Gabriel Martinelli. Um, this is he's going to be a star of the future. Um, Hopefully his injury doesn't hold him up and that he can come back strong. We all want that as fans for him.
Yeah, it does scare me a little bit that from reading some of the write ups or listening to some of the conversations about him that injury could be something that's just
Yeah.
a nagging injury that comes back over and over and over again.
Yep.
He may not ever.
Hopefully it's not the case.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
hoping because it was wonderful to see him play, and just it'd be nice to see him be able to get acclimated to the team and be a regular part of it.
He burst onto the scene and had a few games under Mikel Arteta, but obviously he got injured, so his career has been held up a little bit. And hopefully, Gabby, you can get back to your best. Final two positions that I've got: Eddie Nketiah and Lacazette. Who do you want to go to first?
Let's go, like I said.
Where do you? I think it's well documented where I stand on Lacazette. He's never going to get into 20 goals a season. Hasn't, unfortunately, with Arsenal. I need him to kick on, but he's running out of chances for me. Um, the argument is that he's been used, and this is probably a correct argument, he's been used in midfield. He's not been able to be as effective. He's doing a job for the team. If that's the case, you know, I'm okay with that. But there's various parts in this team where players are up for sale, and I think push come to shove, if we could get Our and Partey, I would sacrifice Lacazette.
I definitely agree. Definitely agree about that. His main main contribution to the team is that he can hold the ball up, and
Yeah,
that seems to be the only thing that anybody can lay their hands down. So that's the one thing that he gives to us.
yeah,
That's good, but we definitely need a lot more. And if we're able to sell him and get some of those players to replace him, that'd be really good. You'll watch many of the games, and he is, like you said, back in that midfield.
mhm.
And
And it's maybe a tactical thing that Arteta is asking him to do because we went through midfield and we know how light we are there.
Yeah, and I know it's definitely to support the team, and that's it's the same thing that happens to Aubameyang, right? Sometimes he has to come back just a little bit too deep, that he's never out there when we get the ball, and when he is, good things happen. But a lot of times he's back a little bit too deep. Same thing with, like I said, he has to come back too deep. He's in the midfield, and your forwards are out front, kind of waiting for him to come, and there's nobody in the middle. That middle's usually empty, and it's either because he's too far up and there's no midfielder up behind him, or he has to go too far back, and then the forwards are the wings are out there by themselves waiting for somebody to get that ball into the middle, and he's not there. So I kind of feel like he's and
Stuck
that
between a
it,
hard
it's
place,
yep yep
rock and a hard place. Know what they
yep
say?
yep. And if we're able to sell him and get the monies that we need, once again, I think that's one of those things we're gonna have to do.
Yeah. This is a tough position because we got Eddie and Nketiah as well, and he's not really the finished article yet either. We have Lacazette, who will get 12 to 15 goals a season, but no more. It's kind of a difficult position for us that Arsenal's in right now. But Eddie Nketiah is a young player. I've been quite happy with his development. Does he do enough in games? Probably not. He doesn't have the hold up skill. He doesn't hold the ball up as well as Lacazette. But I feel if he's allowed to get on the end of things, he can do that job.
Yeah, and he might be. And once again, part of me is like, he needs more. He needs more
Yeah.
time. So he may actually need.
You hate to loan them out, but you know that sometimes it's the best thing for the player. So whenever someone says that to me on a podcast, I'm like, but they're Arsenal players. I want to kind of keep them. You know what I mean?
If they can, if he's going to get the playing time that he needs, then I say yes. But if he can't give Arteta what he wants, which right at this point I don't think he can, he needs to be able to go out there and showcase those, get them the time on the ball, the time on the field to improve. Where because right now we do need that hold up play. Aubameyang has got the goals sorted. Pepe, with time and space, will be able to get the assists going. That middle position right there, there's nobody there right now. Back in the days, we used to have that forward up front, and and no matter what, as long as you got that ball to him, he scores. Right now,
Yeah.
we don't have that guy. We don't have that player up front to do that. So I think if it's just a hold up play, I think they'll be fine if they let him go. If they're able to clean up the middle, right? If like I said, were to go and Bellerman were to go, and then next thing you know, you've got Partey and you've got Aouar there, then you've done what you needed.
We've instantly upgraded then in doing that, right?
Yeah.
We've gone through pretty much the whole squad. We'll talk about Guendouzi and Arteta, and then just overall, we'll get out of here in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
No
But
problem.
like you said, Lacazette, Torreira, Bellerin, they're probably the suspects for me that maybe we need to generate some cash with. Kolasinac, he can go. Rob Holding, some possibilities going to stay because of injuries to Mustafi. But Guendouzi, Gary Guendouzi,
He's
he could
playing.
be a
He's playing.
saleable asset as well. He could be another one we can generate some cash from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The once again, the potential is there. I wish the potential was one that we would be able to take advantage of. Right? He's a really good player. He's captaining the U21s right now, but
French team.
we can't get him in a red jersey. That's disappointing, right? We know he's got the skills and all of that. He just, whatever's upstairs isn't clicking with what Arteta wants.
For me, Gary, I've said this all along. I've seen improvement under Arteta in all players throughout the squad. We've gone through all these players. They've all improved under Mikel Arteta. One player that has not improved for me is Matteo Guendouzi. He still plays the same way. He still gets run around in midfield. And as we know, we liked his indiscipline. We liked his what I call shithousery. We actually liked that as fans. But it ran him into problems in Brighton, and that was a big problem.
Yeah, he definitely has the fire. It's just that he hasn't controlled it and used it at the right point in time.
Between the two ears, right there.
Yes, yeah. Because the fire's there. It's not contained. It's not.
Would you, if you're going to get a club to pay money for him, you would do that, right?
At this point, yes.
30 plus. Would you take less?
I actually feel like I would take less at this point. I think the team's is better prepared in a better place that they can take those losses without feeling like, you know what, that's going to hurt us later on. Because I think whatever player they do bring in, I think they will improve. It'll improve the team, and I think Arteta will get more out of them than if they try to sell for the most and not able to. And then now you're holding on to, Ozil and Guendouzi, and they're worth a lot of money to you,
And
and you can't do anything. You can't play them.
of course, it's been well advertised, Partey and Our, and hopefully we can get two of them. Which one? Can you go in order of preference? Which ones you would like in? Would you go Our over Partey or Partey first?
I think I would go Partey.
Yeah,
I
me
think I would
too. I
go
agree with
Partey.
you.
Because I think that would then, if he's ready to play, and we get his skill set out there, that will
I would
that'll solidify the middle a lot
shore
more.
up midfield
Yeah,
exactly, and
like
allow Willian, Emil Smith Rowe, and those players to do their magic, right?
yep, yep. So
Our is probably going to be, sorry to talk over you, is the
no problem,
sprinkle on top. The cherry on top of the cake, right?
no problem, no problem, no problem.
Yeah, so Our would be the cherry on top, right?
Yep, yeah, and I think if we're able to solidify that back line and then have somebody in front of it, I think that would be perfect, because then
Yeah.
it squeezes the problem, which was the midfield, and it's less of
Mhm.
a problem now. Especially if he's able to get that ball and move it up, it'll move it up the field. Because he
All right,
knows
so the man behind the team, Arteta, wonderful that he's come to the club. The club took a gamble. A lot of Arsenal fans, myself included, didn't really have him on the radar. I was thinking Benitez. I'm man enough to say that. But boy, am I happy we have Mikel Arteta. He's come in. He's changed the culture a little bit slowly and but surely. I always said if we got to the cup final, it would be an experience for the kids. But we actually went and won it,
yep,
and that's an amazing experience. We not only did we win that, but we went up against Liverpool toe to toe, who had better preparation than us, and tactically we were just as good as them. We didn't lose our stuff when we got equalized on, and we had stone cold assassins for the penalty takers. So
yep.
Mikel Arteta,
He,
sorry,
yeah, at the end of Wenger's, career,
right?
we knew we were going to have a change, and but where we are now, it's good. We're noticing that it's probably good to get a fresh change and not these old time coaches that have been doing it for a while. And it is time to look at the new ones. And I
Mhm.
think Arteta gives that to us. And like you said, it took a little. I think it took a little time for him to get his feet wet, and he was probably brought in at the worst possible time, right, to start a coaching career in the holiday season,
Yeah,
and from there to now, and he's got to grasp what he wants out of his team. The players know what he wants. I, it's what you want,
and
and
he can tell the players what's going to happen, and they buy into it even more, Gary.
yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
it's not just the young kids; it's everybody on the team. Is
Yeah.
They know what's asked of them. As long as they do it, and we've seen them do it, good things always will happen.
Big thing is to convince now Aubameyang to sign that contract.
Yeah,
The big thing is to have the ambition,
yeah,
and he's got to work with Edu and Vinay now to go out and get some players, because that will convince Aubameyang, I think, to sign the contract.
yeah. I think it'd be nice to see if they can get that credit line opened up so they can make those purchases that they need to, and then get Abba, and then really clean up shop for the players that they don't need, and then move on from there. Because
I think. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I feel like they need, like, now's the time to do this, right? If Awar and Partey were to come into the team, you
Yeah.
solidify your middle, and then you be good. And that's what we needed. We need to have a really good spine, right? We've got the two goalies. We now have two center backs. Get Partey in there. We need an Awar. Now you've got what I think is a really good spine there in the middle of of the field. I think I would like to see that happen, and then if you have to let players go, then you can let them go, and maybe you take a hit. But I feel like this is the time to do it, because things hopefully will get better. Fans
Yeah.
will come back into the
I, I'm.
stands and all that.
I'm. I'm very hopeful for the future. I think we have a good foundation. We have young players that we're talking about going to get good. We have older established players that hopefully won't drop off too much. Granit Xhaka, as long as he can maintain that level. Aubameyang, do what he does. Things look hopeful to me. I'm looking around the Chelsea. Will they gel? We shouldn't worry about Chelsea. They're going to go out and do what they do. They buy the most expensive. Yeah, it is frustrating. Arsenal don't do their business as quickly as they should. But hang in there. We'll see what happens. But I'm hopeful for the season ahead.
No, yeah, definitely looking forward to this season, and I can't wait for it to start and see what improvements we're going to see from the past season.
There's gonna be lots of ups and downs, Gary, and we have to cut our players some slack. Saliba, Gabriel, we have to make some mistakes.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we have two good goalkeepers. We've got a foundation to build on, and Arteta's going to make some mistakes. We're going to lose some games. It's just the Premier League, but I think if we win more than we lose, obviously, we'll be in good shape. But listen, I hope you enjoyed talking to me for close to an hour and a half now, Gary.
Yeah,
This is supposed to do about 30 minutes, right?
yes, just went a little bit further. It definitely went by pretty quickly. It went really fast. It seemed so. That's good. It means the conversation was good. The content was good.
Yeah, we were for the viewers watching. We were going to do this in 30 minutes, but we can't solve Arsenal's problems in 30 minutes, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Definitely enjoyed this. Yeah, thank you for letting me do this.
This has been this is actually a topic that Gary DWTT, you know him as, and now you know him as Gary. This was a topic he brought forward, the squad review of the coming year, and hopefully we've went through the nuts and bolts of everything for you, and good things are ahead. Until the next podcast, we're out of here.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
guys. Take care.